Well, joining us now to discuss more on the celebrations of Africa Day is the Executive Director of the One Campaign Africa, Edwin Ukwara. Thank you so much for speaking to us and happy Africa Day to you.
Thank you for having me and happy Africa Day to you too.
Now, this year, Africa and also the world is grappling with an unprecedented challenge, making this year's Africa Day slightly different, because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But what should Africa be celebrating today?
Oh, I mean, there's a lot for Africa to celebrate. Number one, in the absence of, global leadership to end the pandemic, Africa demonstrated that they are still a united front. They created the Africa, continental strategy to fight COVID-19. So the spirit of, coming together, the spirit of Ubuntu, as we call it, is still reigning on the African continent. So you could see that African leaders decided, together to begin to make all the external calls. Right now, they are pulling together, creating a pool fund so that they could buy testing kits and reagents and PPEs together. That's the kind of, spirit of solidarity that we are celebrating today. And we think that has also been demonstrated in the fight against COVID-19. So yes, there's still a lot to celebrate. Again, apart from that, our culture, our music, everything else that make us truly unique.
Yeah, and this pandemic is an impediment in this year's celebration. Right now, we have over 100,000 cases and sadly, more than 3,000 dead. This crisis also brings to the fore the significant gaps and deficiencies in public health systems across the continent. How would you say the continent has fared, in fighting COVID-19?
I would say we have been a bit spared on the health front in terms of the number of cases that we are seeing. We are still seeing the lists, community transmissions globally as we compare to other places, but we have been hit economically, and I think that is the biggest part that has really affected us because Africa acted swiftly. Africa determined that we're going to do lockdown. About 42 countries on the continent did total lockdown. And so that is why you see that early response, mainly coming from the lessons that we have learned from Ebola in the previous years, helped to curb the spread of the coronavirus. So in that sense, the response has been swift in that sense. But again, it came with its own crisis, the financial crisis or the economic crisis that comes out of that. So lockdowns means that people who are working daily, who earn their living daily, are not able to earn a living. And that means also sending a lot of people, back into poverty. So these are the issues that we have there. But more importantly as well is that Africa has come to realize that when you don't invest in your health system, right, you are definitely you are jeopardizing your economic growth. That's what we have come to see. When the human resource, is not well, it's not healthy, when they don't have access to a resilient, effective, or working health system, they come out, worse off. And the country can be shut down. This is what we have seen here right now. So response has been in several ways, but I think we are in the right path.
Let's dissect this year's theme, which is silencing the guns and also intensifying, the fight against COVID-19. To what extent would you say the AU, has gone in bringing peace into the continent and actually silencing the guns?
Okay, now that is that is multifaceted. First of all, there have been several pacts that have been signed at the continental level, and several structures or institutions that have been created to respond to this. All of the forces that are trying to enforce peace in different countries. As of today, still got about 14 African countries that one form of conflict or insurgency or insecurity is happening at the moment, right? But the biggest thing here is that Africa has a huge, youth population that are not employed, that are available for this kind of radicalization, and that are also expressing themselves in violence. And what the continent has been doing so far before now has been a military response. Basically, how do we ensure peace through, facilitating conversations between countries or warring factions? But what we've been trying to get the African continent to see is that we should be dealing with this from the root causes. Basically, how do you engage people who are available for this violence, who are easily radicalized because they have nothing else to do? And this is what we think is the next frontier, is the next level. So they begin to move from all of the continental, all the military response that have been happening in the previous, before now, to going towards a more proactive economic agenda that can give people opportunities and they are not available, to be involved in violence. But I think this is a time where it is becoming realistic, it's becoming easy to see that when people are not engaged, when people are not productive, violence is definitely going to come when people are hungry. And that's what we are seeing right now.
All right, then the Executive Director of the One Campaign Africa, Edwin Nkora, thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you very much for having me.